Rioting broke out in Minneapolis again over the weekend. It happens so often now, especially in Minneapolis, that you don't even notice anymore. Of course, part of the reason you don't notice it is that the media doesn't really cover it, and they don't cover it because for obvious political and ideological reasons. But I also think that it's hardly even news anymore because it happens so often. Not to give the media an excuse for not reporting because they should, but at the same time, I think everyone almost has the same attitude of, oh yeah, BLM is rioting again. What else is new? Oh, they burned down 3 buildings? I mean, they do it all the time. At a certain point, it just becomes part of the background. And it shouldn't be, but that's what it becomes because they're allowed to do this over and over again for months and years on end. But that's what was happening. And this time, the martyr of choice is a guy named Winston Boogie Smith. As far as I know, Bougie is his real middle name. It's not a nickname. I could be wrong about that. But this is from Fox 9. Let me read a little bit of the report to you. It says, Winston Boogie Smith, as identified by family and friends, was shot by a Ramsey County deputy and a Hennepin County deputy during an encounter on the top floor of the parking garage in the 1400 block of Lake Street Thursday afternoon. A U.S. Marshals fugitive task force was attempting to arrest Smith, 32 years old, for a warrant on a felony firearms violation when the incident occurred. BCA investigators, that's the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, say there's evidence showing that Smith fired his gun from inside the vehicle and spent casings were found on the driver's side. However, there's no body camera footage or squad dash cam footage of the incident. The BCA says members of the task force weren't allowed to wear body cameras despite a change in policy at the federal level, allowing for the use of cameras by officers and deputies on the task force. At the same time, social media postings seem to show Smith was prepared for a confrontation with police. An internal document from law enforcement quotes Smith as saying, quote, that he would, quote, shoot it out if he was ever pulled off by law enforcement. Okay, so, I mean, that's really all you need to know, that he was a wanted felon, fugitive from justice that they were pursuing. He had a gun. This was not an unarmed, in no way was this an unarmed man getting shot by cops. He had a gun. He had an illegal gun because he's a felon and a fugitive, and you're not allowed to have guns when you're a felon and a fugitive. And he used it. He was shooting at the police. The spent shell casings in the car pretty well confirms that. So a wanted fugitive, violent felon, armed, resisting arrest, and putting all that aside, you know, even all of that doesn't matter. Like, the only thing that really matters here is that he was shooting at the police. And he got shot. Literally, if you shoot at the cops, I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter if you're not a felon. You could be the greatest guy in the world. You could be Mr. Rogers. Shooting at the cops, and you're going to get shot. Perfectly fair. In fact, we could go even further than that. Like, you shoot at anyone who has a gun, and you're going to get shot. Legally. So that's all you really need to know about this. And that on top of the fact that he had previously announced his intention to shoot it out with the cops, and then he did shoot it out with the cops. But we could add some more information. He also had, I think it was 20 arrests under his belt, including, and he had previously online had encouraged, not only had he announced his intention to shoot it out with the cops, an intention which he then followed through on, but he had encouraged the burning of police stations. He was encouraging violence against police officers, and then he went and committed that violence himself. But one of his arrests, and I almost don't need to tell you this because you know this is coming. I'll let you fill in the blanks. Because there's one thing we know about BLM martyrs. Almost every time, they are violent felons in the process of resisting arrest and assaulting or trying to kill cops. And what's one crime, one type of crime that they almost always have committed in the past? Violence against women, right? So many cases of that, whether it's George Floyd, Jacob Blake, etc. And that was the case here too. Winston Boogie Smith had 20 arrests, aggravated robbery of a woman being one of them, and I believe the woman was his ex-girlfriend or something. He committed aggravated robbery against her. It really is, it's an impressive track record with BLM. Every single martyr that they choose ends up being not only a violent felon, but someone specifically who had committed violence against women. This is so common. It's like they're sifting through all of the potential martyrs that they can choose, and it's almost like they intentionally choose the ones who have committed some kind of violent act against a woman. Either it's an intentional choice or it's a hell of a coincidence that at this point you can assume it. When BLM is rioting over someone being shot by the cops, you could, before you even know the person's name, you can just assume that they've committed some violent act against a woman in the past, because it's always the case. Listen, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.